Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Today we will read from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized, text 70. Text 70 is on the board. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Apoyamanam Achalapatistam
Apuryamanam achala pratishtam
Apoyamanam Achalapatistam
Apuryamanam achala pratishtam
Samudramapa Pavishanti Advat
Samudramapa pravishanti yadva
Tatvat Kamayam Pavishanti Sarve
Tattvat kamayam pravishanti sarve
Sasanti Mapnoti Nakama Kami
Sashanti mapnoti nakamakami
Apoyamanam Achalapatistam
Apuryamanam achala pratishtam
Samudranapa Pavishanti Advat
Samudramapa pravishanti yadva
Tatvat Kamayam Pavishanti Sarve
Tattvat kamayam pravishanti sarve
Sasanti Mapnoti Nakama Kami
Sashanti mapnoti nakamakami
Apoyananam Achalapatistam
Puryamanam pratishtam
Samudramapa Pavishanti Advat
Samudramapa pravishanti yadva
Tatvat Kamayam Pavishanti Sarve
Tattvat kamayam pravishanti sarve
Sasanti Mapnoti Nakama Kami
Sashanti mapnoti nakamakami Apuryamanam achala pratishtam
Apoyanamam Achalapatistam
Samudramapa pravishanti yadvat
Samudranapa Pavishanti Advat
Tattvat kamayam pravishanti sarve
Tatvat Kamayam Pavishanti Sarve
Sashanti mapnoti nakamakami
Sasanti Mapnoti Nakama Kami
Apuryamanam achala pratishtam
Apoyamanam Achalapatistam
Samudramapa pravishanti yadvat
Samudramapa Pavishanti Advat
Vaskamayam pravishanti sarve
Tatvat Kamayam Pavishanti Sarve
Sashanti mapnoti nakamakami
Sasanti Mapnoti Nakama Kami
Apuryamanam achala pratishtam
Apoyamanam Achalapatistam
Samudramapa pravishanti yadvat
Samudramapa Pavishanti Advat
Tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve
Tavat Kamayam Pavishanti Sarve
Sashanti mapnoti nakamakami
Sasanti Mapnoti Nakama Kami Mataji Apoyamanam Achalapatistam Samudramapa Pavishanti Advat Tatvat Kamayam Pavishanti Sarve Yatsanti Mapnoti Nakami Kami Apoyamanam Achalapatistam Samudranapa Pavishanti Advat Tatvat Kamayam Pavishanti Sarve Sashanti napnoti nakami kami. Word for word translation. Apoyamanam.
Apoyamanam.
Always being filled.
Always being filled.
Achala patishtam.
Achala pratishtam.
Steadily situated.
Steadily situated.
Samudram. The ocean. Apa. Waters. Pravishanti. Enter. Yatvat. As. Tatvat. So. Kama. Desires. Yam. Unto whom. Pravishanti. Enter. Sarve. All. That person. Santim. Peace. Apnoti. Achieves. Na. Not. Kamakami. One who desires to fulfill desires.
One who desires to fulfill desires.
Yes. Translation. Purport by Abhay Shravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enters like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. Please repeat. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. Someone explain me in one's own words what this verse says. Give it a try, yes.
That desires will come. They should stay steady like an ocean. When they come, must be still. Stay calm like the ocean. When they come, must be still.
Oh, nice. Thank you. That's very simply explained. Good. Now, the purport, commentary. Although the vast ocean is always filled with water, it is always, especially during the rainy season, being filled with much more water. But the ocean remains the same, steady, is not agitated, nor does it cross beyond the limit of its brings. That is also true of a person fixed in Krishna consciousness. As long as one has the material body, the demands of the body for sense gratification will continue. The devotee, however, is not disturbed by such desires because of his fullness. A Krishna-conscious man is not in need of anything because the Lord fulfills all his material necessities. Therefore, is like the ocean, always full in himself. Desires may come to him like the waters of the river in that flow into the ocean, but he is steady in his activities, and he is not even slightly disturbed by desires for sense gratification. That is the proof of a Krishna-conscious man. One who has lost all inclinations for material sense gratification although the desires are present, because he remains satisfied in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he can remain steady like the ocean and therefore enjoy full peace. Others, however, who want to fulfill desires even up to the limit of liberation, what to speak of material success, never attain peace. The fruitive workers, the salvationists, and also the yogis who are who are after mystic powers, are all unhappy because of unfulfilled desires. But the person in Krishna consciousness is happy in the service of the Lord, and he has no desires to be fulfilled. In fact, he does not even desire liberation from the so-called material bondage. The devotees of Krishna have no material desires, and therefore they are in perfect peace. The verse again. Apoyanamam atala pratishtam samudranapam pavishanti atvat. Tatvat kamayam pavishanti sarve satsanti napnoti nakamakami. Person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enters like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not a man who strives to satisfy such desires. Chitchetayamanopistam staptam yena bhuttale Kamrapkadamyam dadati svapadantikam. Vandeham shiyo shiyuda padakamlam shigam vaishnavam sham. Shiyupam jagachatam sagan ragnatam tam sajivam sadvaitam savadutam parjana saitam Krishna stayadevam. Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sankaradita Shvishakam Tanisha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Chatpate Gopesha Gopakanta Radhakantam Rapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishri Vishavani Sutadevi Panamama Haripriya Vanka Kalpabhisha Kripa Sindhave Vishnu Patinam Pavanabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namah. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutala Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Kinamani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachari Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachani Desatani Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, Bhagavad Gita explains we are the soul, not the body. So, can someone explain me what's the activity of the soul? What do we do in this world?
I like the point for the last.
Hare Krishna. What's the activity of the soul? What does the soul do? Yes.
Loving service for the spirit.
That is what it should do, yes. But how is this done? In the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, verse 14, Krishna explains 5 factors of action. Krishna says where there is adhisthanam, there is the body. We are not the body, right? The body. And then Krishna speaks about the karta, the doer. Who is the doer? Who is the doer?
conditioned state.
Hmm?
In a conditioned state. The modes.
Whatever state. The soul is the doer. And how does the soul do things if it's not the body? Yeah?
It wish something.
Hmm?
It wish something.
It desires. Yes. That's how we do things in this world. The soul desires. Krishna says in 3:27, Praktikiyamani gunikapa sarvasa ahankamara vimudatma kartam iti manyate. Everything in this world is done by the three modes of nature. But the soul thinks that he's doing everything in this world. And such a bewildered soul, how does Krishna call such a bewildered soul? Vimudatma. Vimuda. Muda means as. Vimuda means super as. That if we think we are doing everything in this world, but still we are doing things, Krishna says, karta. We are doing things by desiring. That the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in the first verses, what is described? In the beginning of the 15th chapter? A banyan tree, yes. And this banyan tree is situated on? Is situated on desire. This all material creation is to fulfill our material desires. Desire means attachment. Attachment. That how do we become attached to things in this world? How does it start? Or how do we create attachment? Dayate visyapum sangaste subachayate sangachayate kama kamakota vichayate. Dayate. What does dayate means? Meditation. I start to meditate on things in this world. And the next step, on what do we meditate in this world?
Objects.
Yeah. Dayate Vishayan, or Vishayan, objects of sense gratification. And what happens then? Sangastesha Vajayate. That we create attachment. Attachment, the soul is attached. Become attached to something in this world. That, and then Sanyate Kama, what's the result? I want to enjoy, lust comes into the heart. But it starts with the meditation and with the desire. The desire comes from this meditation. I want to enjoy. And what happens in this world if we want to enjoy something? What's the result? Yeisam spasiabile tukayunga. Everything. Yeah. Yeisam spasiabaga tukka. If you want to enjoy, Krishna says, the result will be suffering. Isam spasiabile dukkha yonya evate. Atyantapantakantasham nateshu gamate buddha. The great sages have said, if one wants to enjoy in this world, the result will be suffering. Suffering, and it's not worldwide. It's all temporary, your enjoyment in this world. You can only enjoy things in this world as long as you have this body. But this body is temporary. It's cheating. Soon it's all Uber. So it's desire. Desire comes to attachment. But a devotee does not become attached to things in this world. He knows they belong to Krishna. He becomes attached to Krishna. He sees Krishna everywhere. So the soul can be attached to things in this world or can be attached to Krishna. Different desires, spiritual and material desires. So that's the Krishna says in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, the soul is always active. And that activity is becoming attached, desire. So the activity of the mind in this material world is usually about accepting and rejecting on the basis of desire. But in relation to things in this world. So desires that come up into the mind, do they always come from the soul? That'd be an important question. Repeat the question. The desires that pop up in our mind, do they always come from the soul? Where do they come from? Yeah. Yeah, there's also some.
The soul is attached. The soul remains untouched.
Yes, but where does the desire come from that comes up into the mind? Does it come from the soul? That's the question. Or from somewhere else?
From the mind.
From the mind. And how does it come into the mind?
I would say from the soul, but the way you ask makes me feel doubtful.
Yeah, I will explain. Desires in the mind can have 3 sources and maybe more. First, the desire can come from the soul. But if a desire that pops up into your mind mostly does not come from the soul, not directly. What does Krishna do? He went to different bodies and many lifetimes. And in previous lifetimes, we had a lot of material desires. And what is the characteristic of a material desire? Avitam jnanam etina jnanina nityavarna kamrupena kamcha duspurena nalinasha. Material desires covers your intelligence, your spiritual intelligence, and makes you identify with the body. And it's like fire, putting ghee on fire. It's never fulfilled, it's never satisfied. You ask a billionaire, they did a survey with billionaires, and they asked all these billionaires, what do you desire? And they all said, I have 1 billion, I want 2 billion, I want more. Never satisfied. That's a characteristic of a material desire. It can never be satisfied. Never peaceful. Always more, more, more. It is it leads to suffering. Material desires. It's like a fish in the water. A fish is in the water. And there you have the man with the fisher and put his fishing line into the water. And at the end of the line, you have a bat, a worm. And you put it in the water, and the fish comes and thinks, I'm going to enjoy and sees the bat. And then thinks it grabs the bat, thinking I'm going to enjoy. Then the fisherman gets up the line, takes the fish, then removes the hook, cuts it into inside out, and he put him on the frying pan. He becomes fried. So in English, fried means also frustrated. Our desires are never fulfilled, always frustrated. But Krishna is in our heart. He was also in our heart in the previous life, and the life before, and the life before. So he knows that your desires from previous lives, he knows them. And he knows that they are unfulfilled. We have forgotten them, Krishna not. He's a super soul. And then sometimes he puts a desire that we have forgotten, but he not. And he put it in our minds and says, here is your desire. It didn't work out in your last life, but now we can try again. And the desire pops up. And we think, where does this desire come from? Now, you have two kinds of reaction. The reaction of the devotee of Krishna and the reaction of the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul thinks, I'm the mind, I'm thinking, feeling, willing. But we are not the mind. Bhagavad Gita is about controlling the mind. What is controlling the mind? You control the mind by the intelligence. And you control the intelligence by the soul, directs the intelligence by attachment. That's important to understand. A devotee, he controls his mind. And when such a desire pops up into his mind, he looks at it and what kind of desire is that? Devotee say, that's a material desire. If I'm going to try to fulfill that, I'm going to suffer, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. I'm not interested. And then the desire disappears. So it desires comes up into his mind, but he's not disturbed by it. And then he's not interested in fulfilling the desire, and it goes away. It's like desires are like rivers into the ocean, but the ocean remains still and grave, is not disturbed by the desires entering it. So that's the situation from a devotee, that which is described, a devotee who controls his mind in Krishna consciousness. But to do that, you must not identify with the mind. That's the problem. The most of people in this world who are non-devotees, not practicing devotional service, not practicing manmana, always thinking of Krishna, those who don't chant Hare Krishna mantra, who don't hear Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad and the Bhagavatam, who do not perform devotional service, they identify with the mind. They identify with the mind with the feelings, all the likes and dislikes who come into the mind, and they are controlled by the mind. The mind says, oh, it's that passing a restaurant and it, oh, looks nice pizza. And the mind brings him into the restaurant. That's controlled by the mind. But the devotee is not a slave of the mind. He's going to use his mind in Krishna's service. That's the control of the mind. If something appears, a desire in the mind, which is cannot be used in Krishna's service because it's selfish, the devotee is not interested. He becomes the observer of the mind. But you can only be the observer of the mind and do that if you have spiritual power to do that. And that comes by spiritual practice. People in this world are all insane. They are under the control of the mind. But the devotee is not under control of the mind. So desires can come from the soul, but most desires that pop up are desires from previous lives. And we have millions of them. And Krishna does not bring them all at once into the mind. Sometimes, because he knows our attachment from previous lives. But there is also a third way that desires come into the mind. So the first way was the soul. The second, super soul, gives us past life, frustrations, desires. And the third way, our environment, to the environment where we are. If you are in a pub where everyone drinks and all these desires will enter in your mind by the environment. So the devotee is very careful in which environment he goes. He protects his consciousness. So we have explained the activity of the mind and the desires, where they come from, and what's the result? Krishna says in this verse, a devotee who does not fulfill these material desires, who pop up in his mind, what does he achieve? Peace, shanti. And the non-devotee, what does he achieve? Who cannot do that? He suffers one frustration after another. No peace, always disturbed in mind. Taya parita shetasha, Krishna says in the second chapter, that the shetasha, the mind, become disturbed by this material attachment, by these material desires. But if a devotee is not interested in these desires that pop up in his mind, what does the devotee desire? What does he desire? What's the only desire of that? Krishna, Sudhina, Nika.
Krishna just translated it.
Yeah. Yeah. So a pure devotee, he wants only to serve Krishna life after life. What does Lord Chaitanya say? Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavita bhashi shikame, and then mama shamamishvare, bhavata bhaktira hatuki. So I do not desire riches, no beautiful women, and so on. I don't desire all these things, he says. I just desire to serve Krishna life after life. So that means he does not even desire liberation. But how do we practice that? This Bhagavad Gita saying, Tat Buddhayas Tat Atmanas Tat Nishta Tat Praina Gachant Apunarafritam Jnana Nirdutta Kalmasam Tat Buddhayas Tat Atmanas. One uses one's mind, one's intelligence, all one's convictions, and is shelter in Krishna. And what happens? Then all his impurities in the heart, all his thoughts are removed. So a devotee, he uses the mind always in Krishna's service. And then it becomes purified from lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, envy. It means that the devotee always acts for purification. This verse says the yogi acts always for purification of his existence. Chapter 16, Divine Qualities. Abhaya Sattva Samsudir. Sattva Samsudir. What does it mean? Sattva? Pure existence. Sattva Samsudir. Striving for purification of one's existence. What's the problem? From what do we need to become purified? Why do we become attached to material desires? What's the problem? Lust is a product of the mode of passion. And what is worse than passion? Ignorance. That intoxication and all these things, laziness. So that's the problem in your heart, passion and ignorance. How do we get that out of the mind?
Engaging the mind in service.
In the service. How do we do that? Mana, always think of Krishna. Think of Krishna within the heart. In our heart, always thinking of Krishna. That's the cure. Mana. You think of Krishna, and Krishna acts as is antiseptic. Antiseptic means he's going to purify the heart. But he's also prophylactic. Krishna in the mind is prophylactic. Explained in Shios Upanishad. Prophylactic means vaccine. Very popular today, a vaccine. Yeah, Krishna is a vaccine in the mind. Means no new contamination can come in as long as we think of Krishna. right? And the existing contamination, the lust is removed, the passion and ignorance is burnt away. That's Krishna in the mind. That we said, what does the soul do? Desire. But what does it mean acting as a spirit soul? How do we act spiritually? And how do we act materially? We know very well. But how to act spiritually? First, you must know who you are. That we think we are the body. That's our mistake. And why do we think we are the body? Because there's lust in the body. Avitam Jnanam Etina, that covers our eternal position as spirit soul. And we identify with this body. This body is source of suffering. It dies at the end. Nothing good. So why working for the body? Now we have to work for the soul and get rid of this body and get back our eternal existence. So how to get back our eternal existence? Learning to act as a spirit soul. But then you must know who you are. And you cannot know who you are if you don't know who Krishna is. Because Krishna explains who we are. Mamayvam Sochivelka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We are a part and parcel of Krishna. A little spark. A spiritual spark, which is the source of consciousness in this body, which is the life in this body. The body is not alive. It's dead. But it appears to be alive and it functions because Krishna and the super soul, Paramatma and Krishna, and the soul is there. So, if we know Krishna, then we can know ourselves. We are a part and parcel of Krishna and a servant of Krishna. And then we must understand what's our relationship. As a part, it's natural to serve the source of our existence, the source of all spiritual pleasure, Krishna. If we are engaged in devotional service, then we are acting as a spirit soul. But devotional service means two things. Devotional service. Devotion is internal. Service is external. In the beginning, we do service externally, but it's internally Krishna feeling towards Krishna. But by doing externally service on the order of the spiritual master, still Krishna will purify your heart. So living in a relationship with Krishna is the ecstatic experience of the soul, always happy. We don't need his body to do the form. But until that now, because we identify with the body, we need the body to perform devotional service until the point that we are liberated from this contamination. And then we will spontaneously act as spirit soul. So this is now an important aspect. If we want to control the mind, we must always engage it in Krishna's service. And not identify with the mind. Always become the observer of the mind and engage it in devotional service. If you don't engage the mind even for a moment, it will engage you in lusty affairs in this world and degrade you. That's what Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. Udrat atman atman atmanam apasadyat atmevi atmanabandha atmevi ripur atmana. With the mind you can degrade yourself. You can uplift yourself. The mind can be your friend or your enemy. Bandhu atmanastasya yanatma atmanachitra anatmastu satvitvivartit atma satvivat. The mind is your enemy if is uncontrolled. And that's what explained in this verse today. The devotee does not identify with the desire that pops up in the mind. But the non-devotee thinks, I'm the mind and this is my desire. Yes, and this time it will work. It didn't work in previous life and it will not work in this life. And then your mind is your enemy. But Krishna says, if the mind is your friend, you become peaceful. Then Chitta Atmana, then the mind is controlled. And you become Chitta Atmana Prasantasya, you become peaceful. You feel Krishna in the heart. Paramatma Samaita. You have attained Krishna in the heart. You feel him every moment. Every moment you feel Krishna. That's Krishna consciousness. Every moment feeling Krishna in the heart. Was Yama Sundar. And then when you feel Krishna in the heart, you can speak with Krishna directly. That Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada explains in Bhagavad Gita, also Krishna in the verses. Krishna consciousness means following the dictation of the super soul, what Krishna wants you to do. So in the liberated state, we know always what to do. We listen to Krishna from within who directs us. But in the conditioned state, how can we know what Krishna wants us to do? Prahlad Maharaj told me, he asked Srila Prabhupada, how do I know what Krishna wants me to do? And Srila Prabhupada looked upon him with compassion and said, you will do the wrong thing. In the conditioned state, we do the wrong thing. But still we can do the right thing. But Krishna gives you through the heart in the liberated state. It's the same thing what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So if you know Bhagavad Gita and you know it deeply, you know always what to do in life, right thing. So then, what's the message? Be careful in what you do with your mind. That there's a warning here. I will tell always this story with this person, and he got a bottle. And in the bottle is a jinn, a kind of spirit. And he opens the bottle, and the jinn, the spirit, comes out and bows down for him. And the spirit said, I'm your servant. Ask me everything what you want. Ask me everything what you want, and I will do it. but if you don't engage me for 1 second, I will kill you. And the man said, clean the kitchen. And the Jim was cleaning the kitchen, and then after that, and when it's finished, clean the bathroom. And then he was thinking, what am I going to say him if he's done all the rooms in the house? When he had all the rooms in the house, he said to the Jinn, now you go outside, you see this tree there, you climb on the tree up to the top. When you are on the top, you jump to the next tree and come down. And then you go to the next tree, again you go to the top, jump to the next tree and come down. And like this you do all the trees in the forest, and when you have finished, start again. So that's how we got rid of it. But that's important. We must always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. Not a moment thinking I'm going to relax now and how does it feel? And you are gone with the mind. That's very, very dangerous in Krishna consciousness. You must always control your mind, and controlling your mind you can only do in one way. Engage it in Krishna's service. Once Srila Prabhupada gave a lecture in a temple in America, and at the end of the lecture, a devotee asked, Prabhupada, do you have lust in your mind? And Prabhupada said, yes, I have lust in my mind. Of course, Prabhupada's mind is pure, but he wanted to teach us something. So later the same day, Srila Prabhupada went out of the temple and in the car because he was going to another temple, and the devotee who asked that question opened the door. And Prabhupada looked at him and said, yes, I've lust in my mind, but I've no time for it. So that's the point. We are always too busy engaged in Krishna consciousness, and no time for it. So, Srila Prabhupada quotes many times the Ambarish Maharaj. Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vinyo is always using his mind to think of Krishna. He uses his legs to walk to the temple. He uses his hands to cleanse the floor. He uses his nose to smell the flowers offered to the Supreme Lord. So it continues like that. So in the purport of verse 1855, Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto, Krishna says, Manmana, always think of me. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, one should know how to organize one's life, that one can do nothing else 24 hours a day than thinking of Krishna. So, that's my message. Any question? Oh, no question. Yes, Paul.
Krishna, thank you. Hare Krishna, Maharaj, thank you for wonderful class. If I understood you correctly, you mentioned Krishna is antiseptic and prophylactic.
Yeah, that's in she is Upanishad.
And what you said was that we can't create kind of new desires as long as we think of Krishna. Like we get purified from our old habits, but also in the same way, if we think of Krishna, then we don't create new habits, bad habits, or?
Well, then when we think of Krishna, we become purified. And that's a long process, usually. Some desires may still be there, but we don't make time for these desires. But Krishna is rightly is antiseptic. So that's Srila Prabhupada said cure for the mad mind is always hearing about Krishna, thinking of Krishna, and taking prasadam. That's interesting. Only taking Krishna prasadam, nothing else. That this body is made of so many cells. Every cell is reproduced every 6 years. If you take 6 years only Krishna prasad, nothing else, your body is changed into Krishna prasad. And that will help you to control the mind. Really. That will help you to control the mind. This also part of the diet, antiseptic. Because prasad is thinking of Krishna. Yes, but of course, the point here is, if you become purified, we focus on spiritual desires. And thus only serving to please Krishna out of love, without asking something in return, without any motive. Anya Vilasa Simhachalam Karnavatam Anukulena Krishna Silanam Bhaktutama. So that is the desire that the devotee wants to cultivate, and he works on it. And the other desires are weeds, they have to get out. And why these are bhakti? We are weeding that out. But to get these weeds out, one must come to give up our offensive mentality. 10 offenses in the chanting of the holy name. But they represent a mentality that's opposite to the mentality Trinad Vishnu Sinatara Visaisni Amana Manavna Kirtana Sadavi. But by sufficient hearing about Krishna, the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service, all that is troublesome to the heart is nearly completely destroyed. And gradually, these anarthas will be removed. Anarthas are materialistic desires. And to get completely rid from it is liberation. Then one desire only is there. I want to please Krishna out of love and nothing in return. And that is the goal of our purification. Does that make sense? Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. I have actually a couple of questions, but let's say the most important one for me. Does thinking about Krishna include, like, I mean, when the pure devotee is in constant remembrance of Krishna, is he like every moment thinking about Krishna's Leela and form, or is he praying to Krishna, talking to Krishna? Does remembering our guru or our service fall also under the category of remembering Krishna?
It means the pure devotee sees Krishna in the heart every moment. He's in your heart. The pure devotee sees him every moment. Pure devotee, before he speaks, he consults with Krishna. And then Krishna makes him speak. But they are always in contact. Pure devotee means living in a relationship with Krishna. That is what it means. Like face to face.
To the same topic, you said something which is a little bit frustrating me, is that only a liberated devotee is acting under the direction of Krishna, and in the conditioned state you are acting conditioned.
Yeah. So,
but what about a sincere condition?
Yeah, a liberated devotee follows always the directions of Krishna from within, directly. A conditioned soul who wants to become a devotee and accept the spiritual master, and is sincere, follows the instructions of the spiritual master. and he gets the same result. Because the instructions of the spiritual master are the same as Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, are the same as Krishna gives within to the pure devotee. That's the thing.
Thank you.
Good. Something else? Good. Thank you very much. Yantra Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki